Hey, welcome back to our weekly review show. And tonight we're going to January 2025, where we're looking at the current nuclear. No, sorry, we're going back to the 80s, aren't we, David? Back to 83. David and Shaun, welcome.
Yeah.
Hey, guys. Hey, John.
Cheers, guys. I've succumbed to the drink, even though it's only a Tuesday. Right, so how are we all doing, people?
All right.
Yeah, good. Did you
We're
enjoy
doing
this
well.
movie, Shaun?
I generally enjoyed it.
Good. David, you've seen it before, but a bit of a
Seen it
refresher.
before, John. Yeah, a couple of decades ago. So, as I said in our, kind of on our back in our green room chat, it kind of felt like it was my first time watching WarGames again because it's been so long, and I like that feeling that I get from such movies when you haven't seen it for such a long time, and it wasn't a disappointment, not at all.
Yeah. Okay, well, let's get into it. As they say, I'm going to give my review, and then we'll listen to you guys because it's my show and I get to go first.
Typical.
Here we go. WarGames, a film where a teenager with too much time, too much curiosity, and not enough supervision nearly triggers global thermonuclear war. Just another day in the 80s, huh? In this 1983 masterpiece of technological paranoia, Matthew Broderick plays David Lightman, a brilliant but unmotivated high school hacker who spends his time changing grades and stealing video games. While searching for new games to pilfer, he accidentally hacks into Whopper, the War Operation Plan Response, a military supercomputer designed to predict nuclear war outcomes. Thinking he's found a cool new game company, David chooses to play Global Thermonuclear War because why start with chess when you can jump straight to ending civilization? What follows is a perfect storm of misunderstandings as NORAD officials believe they are witnessing an actual Soviet first strike, while our teenage protagonist is blissfully unaware he's nearly triggered World War III. The computer, unable to distinguish between simulation and reality, keeps pushing forward towards a nuclear launch, while David, his love interest Jennifer, and the reclusive programmer who created Whopper, Dr. Falcon, race to teach an artificial intelligence that some games simply aren't worth playing. Youth, arrogance, and military madness in the performances. And I've got to give it to Broderick. He was a very young man at the time, but it stands the test of time, capturing that perfect blend of teenage cockiness and genuine innocence. He's not malicious, he's just a kid who doesn't understand the gravity of what he stumbled into until it's nearly too late. His chemistry with Sheedy feels refreshingly natural and unforced. None of that overblown Hollywood romance nonsense where they're suddenly willing to die for each other after sharing one meaningful glance across a classroom. Dabney Coleman as McKittrick is brilliantly cast as the civilian bureaucrat who puts blind faith in the technology. His portrayal of smug certainty is so convincing you'll want to reach through the screen and shake him by his polyester lapels. Meanwhile, Barry Corbin's General Beringer, the technology skeptical military man, leans into the hamminess in a way that somehow works. Yes, he's chewing the scenery with lines like, "I'd piss on a spark plug if I thought it'd do any good." But in a film about computers potentially ending humanity, perhaps a bit of human excess is exactly what we needed. The technology, while hilariously dated and I've got to admit, brings back all sorts of memories for me, was terrifyingly relevant. Let's address the elephant in the room. The technology in WarGames looks like it belongs in a museum, and it does. Acoustic modems? Yeah, I remember them. Green monochrome monitors? Yeah, I remember them. Feeding physical tape into computers the size of refrigerators? I even remember punched cards. But anyway, it's enough to make any modern tech enthusiast snort their energy drink out of their nose. Yet for all its technological antiquity, the film was remarkably prescient about hacking techniques. War dialing, that's systematically calling numbers to find computers. Password research, social engineering. These weren't Hollywood fantasies, but actual methods that hackers used. And it was another 10 years before we got movies like Hackers and Sneakers. So, no ridiculous, I'll create a GUI interface using Visual Basic to track the killer's IP address nonsense here. David's hacking takes actual time, effort, loads of printouts, and rifling through bins. What an actual concept. As relevant as yesterday's nuclear alert, it really is. What makes WarGames truly exceptional is how it delivers its message without bludgeoning you over the head with it. At its core, this is a film about the futility of nuclear war, the ultimate zero-sum game. When Joshua, that's the computer, finally cycles through every possible nuclear war scenario and concludes that the only winning move is not to play, it's not just clever writing, it's a profound statement on the insanity of mutually assured destruction. And in our current geopolitical climate, where nuclear sabres are rattled with alarming frequency, this message carries even more weight than it did in 1983. We've upgraded the computers, refined the interfaces, and built smarter systems. But we are still the same human beings, hampered by the same human flaws. Pride, mistrust, and the dangerous belief that we can control forces beyond our understanding. What director John Badham accomplished was remarkable, crafting a film that works equally well as a tense techno thriller and a thoughtful examination of humanity's relationship with technology and warfare. You can enjoy it as a straightforward teenager saves the world family-friendly adventure, or you can ponder its deeper implications about game theory and nuclear brinkmanship. The pacing oscillates masterfully between light-hearted teenage adventure, sneaking out, road trips, falling in love, and the grim reality of military personnel preparing for nuclear holocaust. In lesser hands, this tonal juggling act could have been disastrous, but Badham navigates it with remarkable skill. So 4 decades later, WarGames stands as both an entertaining time capsule and a sobering warning. The computers may be laughably outdated, but the questions it raises about human judgment, technological dependency, and the madness of nuclear deterrence remain painfully relevant. So if you haven't watched it recently, do yourself a favour and revisit this gem. In a world where AI is advancing at breakneck speed and international tensions simmer constantly, perhaps we all need a reminder that sometimes the only winning move is not to play. So, if the world does end in nuclear fire, at least we won't have to worry about our credit scores anymore, eh? Silver linings and all that.
Cheers.
Cheers.
It's been great for me. That's what we say when we're about to get vaporized. Yeah, it's been great for me.
What a ride.
Wow, John, you must be old if you can remember those punched cards, mate.
Well, we had a conversation earlier today and you were laughing at the floppies, and I nailed it when I said those were 8-inch floppies.
8-inch before they went to 5. I think it was like
5 and a
quarter.
quarter. Yeah, 5 and a quarter was next. But those 8-inch floppies, because I remember looking at them thinking, those aren't 5 and a quarter inch floppies. Those are big boys.
I remember 5 and a quarters and the 3-inch. Yeah, they were big boys. It was like wobbly, stick it in. Like, it was crazy.
What are you laughing at?
You're
An 8-inch floppy? An 8-inch floppy? And they couldn't even hold that much data. I mean, I don't even think you could get 360k on them. They were tiny. 16k maybe. Yeah, it was absolutely incredible. Hi, Julie.
Oh,
hello, troll room.
These are not. We are not using euphemisms here, Sean. Just let you know, in case you were.
It just. If it was just like stuck in my head, and I'm like, This will be funny.
Can you imagine?
Robbie?
Can you imagine having to plug the telephone into the acoustic coupler to get online? Because that's what I used to have to do. And if somebody picked up the phone while you were online, it broke the connection. It wasn't like in the movie did take a liberty there because you saw him picking up the thing and putting it back down, and the connection stayed. The connection would have been gone. You'd have had to
Well,
start.
we had that with dial-up as well before broadband. That did happen with dial-up as well, John.
Mhm.
Yes, I think so. Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, what an age to live in! Like things have really progressed in terms of technology.
Well, yeah, they
And
have. Yeah, but
and
have they got
society
any
gets-
better? That's the question. Have they got any better?
Technology in some ways has gotten better, but humans
No.
as a society, it's just like gotten just the same or worse.
Well, that's what I mean. Has our society benefited from that technology, or are we just meandering down the same path to self-destruction?
Yeah, it depends on the point of view.
I suppose it does. So, David, do you have something lovely for us this evening?
A little something, yeah. So I'll kick it off. WarGames is a Cold War era technological thriller that still packs a good punch. It has solid performances from Matthew Broderick and Ali Sheedy and an accurate look at the early hacking culture. It's a largely gripping and cautionary tale about the thin line between simulation and reality. The film's iconic line, "The only winning move is not to play," still resonates even today as we teeter on the edges of AI and digital warfare. Some would say that we're already in it. WarGames is an unmissable and smart, tense thriller. Go watch it if you haven't seen it yet. That's me.
Thank you, David. Short
All right,
and
my
sweet.
turn.
Yeah, your turn. Yeah, it's okay. There's plenty of time. You don't need to rush.
Well, my first impression of War Games was it was actually a fun film to watch. You know, seeing all how things were very different back in the '80s, and seeing all the technology that some I remember because I'm a '90s person. Well, 1996 was when I was born, so I recall some of the technology then, but it was also kind of interesting to see all the different things they had to do, like the big, massive hard drives, like the little plug-in bits and all that stuff. You know, it was, and the way they handled it was very creative in some ways. Especially, I really liked the main character and how he basically MacGyvered his way from different situations, like getting out like of that sealed door with recorder, the thing he had, and then trying to hack into the phone booth, and well, not hack, but like
that's called freaking. That's called
freaking it or hot wiring it. So he gets a call.
That used to be a thing. People would make phone calls for nothing. It's called phone freaking. You could send tones down the phone line and make calls. So it did work. Yeah.
Yeah. I really did enjoy that part, and it just also shows how like scary things like artificial intelligence can be. You know, showing how just this one playing a game in general would nearly cause a full out nuclear apocalypse or World War III and all that stuff. Like it does, that one does kind of scare me a bit and hit home a bit. You know, it's like AI, my arch enemy. It's stealing our military, our jobs, our women, our artistry, all that stuff.
I don't think AI is stealing your women yet. I think they've done that to themselves. But anyway,
yeah. Wait till they invent gay male robots.
Yeah, okay, let's not start going down that route.
Yeah,
okay.
But
So
I also had fun with it. I can highly recommend this film for anyone in my generation or even like newer to give this film a shot. It's one of those it's one of those fun to watch films from the 80s. You know, the characters are likable, the situation's interesting, and the overall like message of now today, and it is something I heard before. You know, the best way to win is not to play at all. It's something that I have heard before, but it's something that I did think is a really good message in general, and I generally had fun. And at one point, like in the film, when they were going to see this Dr. Falcon guy, and I saw a pterodactyl thing he was flying.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
For a second, I was like, wait, what?
Yeah.
This is meant to be a modern film. Why is there a flipping turn? Okay, it's a glider thing. Because that part was fun. Yeah. So,
yeah, I thought you'd appreciate his house as well, full of dinosaurs and stuff.
Yep, dinosaurs are cool. Remember
Yeah.
that.
Yeah.
There was a really funny moment when Broderick's character was doing all the research and the background gathering on Falcon, and then Broderick and Ali Sheedy, they were in his bedroom and they were looking at a VHS copy, I think, of Dr. Falcon's, earlier experiments, and then they discovered about the child and about Joshua. There was this funny comment you probably picked up on it, John, is that it was discovered at the time of that particular recording of Dr. Falcon, he was 41 years old, and you hear Ali Sheedy going,
God,
yeah.
that was old.
That was old. And I'm like, hold on a second. I'm showing my age here a bit. That is not old, you cheeky little.
Yeah. But if you think back, you think back to when you were that age, people that are in their 40s were old.
That's it, yeah. And I remember looking at the actor, in that particular footage. What was his name? Who played Falcon? John Wood. That was the name of the actor. And I looked at him. I'm like, he's a lot older than that. He's not 41. He's in his bloody 50s or something like that.
Yeah, he would be when you saw him there, because he was meant to be. That was meant to be 10 years before, wasn't it? Because it was set in the 70s.
But he looked a lot older, though. That was the thing. Like, I was like, he's not 41. He definitely visually looks in his 50s. Like, he's not bloody 41. But I thought that was funny. There were nice moments like that as well.
Yeah, and then there was the one in the class. That was good as well. Yeah. Who do you think was the first that thought of asexual reproduction?
Yeah.
Broderick, your wife. Yeah. Get out. That was just so they could get the password to the school computer.
Yeah, exactly. And that's it. It was like, going back to your review, John, and you touched on something. It was a lovely family movie for the most part, but then there were points throughout it where it wasn't a family movie. It was a little bit more adult. It was a little bit more PG, parental guidance, or 12s rated, with a bit of swearing, and it all got kind of a bit more serious and tense at times. So there was a good mix between the family-friendly movie and something a little bit more adult as well. So that was cleverly done. That was executed. I think that's what makes this movie one of those all-time classics, WarGames.
Yeah. And 2 years after this movie, Sheedy was in The Breakfast Club, and that's another classic, isn't it?
I've seen that one.
Yeah.
Yeah, and you were right, John, as well. There was really nice chemistry between those actors, between Broderick and Sheedy as well. You were spot on, mate. It was refreshing. It wasn't too much in your face. It was like, they're buddy, friendly. There's something there that's kind of simmering. They have the little kind of like romantic moment as well, but they're on the run together. So it was really nicely done, really nicely executed. And I thought Broderick, of course, I'm not... Do you guys know what age Broderick was in 1983?
I'm gonna early 20s, I assume. Like,
I would imagine maybe 16, 17, 18 years of age, somewhere between 16 to 18. Very fresh faced. Like, John's probably going to tell us.
Oh God, it's the same age as me. So so in 1983, Matthew Broderick would have been 21.
He was 21. Wow, he looked so much younger. Yeah. Gosh, he looked like he was about 16 going on 17 or something like that. But he was really, really great. And when I was watching that movie, and here's an interesting bit of crossover, I actually think that Matthew Broderick, he would have made a very good... Now, Michael J. Fox was the perfect Marty McFly. Yeah. But I thought Matthew Broderick, a couple of years later, he could have been a very, very good auditionee for Back to the Future.
Yeah, true.
Yeah, he could have.
And if you remember, Principal Strickland, he was in WarGames. That actor's name was James Tolkien. You remember Principal Strickland from Back to the Future?
Yes,
you're a slacker, McFly.
yes, he was.
Slacker.
Yeah, but
he was in that. He was.
Was
yeah,
he
go
not?
ahead.
Was he not the Admiral out Top Gun as well?
I think so. Yeah, James Tolkien. He had a kind of a secondary or third principal role in WarGames. You kind of saw him with the rest of the other crew or the agents when kind of trouble was brewing for David Lyman.
Yeah, you did. Yeah,
but I recognized him and his voice.
Oh no,
so
it
was
wasn't.
that nice.
No. Who am I thinking of? Go on, keep talking.
No, I was saying there was that nice kind of cross. Beg your pardon, excuse me, crossover with Back to the Future. The first one I think was made, I think it was about 2 or 3 years later when we had Back to the Future. So I thought that was pretty cool. And I thought that Matthew Broderick, he would have been an excellent Marty McFly, actually.
Yeah, he would have. He was pretty busy, mind you, because he did Short Circuit as well, didn't he? And then he had some Project X or something, if I remember. These are just
Short Circuit.
I'm not
classic.
I should actually call up his filmography rather than just try and make things up.
Yeah, and I agree also, John, regarding Barry Corbin as General Jack Beringer. Yeah, he kind of had the serious parts like throughout the movie, but he was essentially the comic relief as well to help break that tension. And that was he had some really great lines. You said one of them about pissing on the spark plug or whatever it was. Yeah, there was some really good lines like that.
Yeah, so let's go back to where was it? 80...
Do you guys remember the scene where
WarGames?
It was after he.
Sorry, just following up on Broderick. He was pretty busy. He did 1918. He did Lady Hawk. He did on Valentine's Day Ferris Bueller's Day Off, of course.
Of course, classic.
Project X. She's Having a Baby. Biloxi Blues. Family Business. Glory. The Freshman. He did all that within 7 years of doing WarGames. He was a busy boy. Yeah.
And you mentioned, John, also regarding, I think it was, 83, about 10 or so years after that, that's when we kind of get into the 90s hacking, freaking kind of genre with Sneakers. With Sneakers and with Hackers.
4 for Sneakers, I think. 97 for Hackers, was it?
I remember that. Yeah. That was Robert Redford was in Sneakers.
Yeah.
Is that correct?
Yep. Angelina Jolie was in Hackers.
Yeah, and Hackers as well. So we were kind of in that.
Oh no, Hackers was 95. Johnny Lee Miller, Angelina Jolie, right?
Hackers, yeah.
You mean Angelina Jolie?
Yeah. Jolie.
Angelina Jolie.
Does it matter?
Jolie. Très jolie. Jolie.
Angelina Jolie. Yeah.
You have to get these things right. Like, you have to get these things right. If like someone has like Ahmed or Jose, even though spelled J, or Scene, SEAN, Scene. So you have to get those right.
No, that's Shaun. SEAN is one of the spellings for Shaun. It's not. Don't start. Okay, don't start trying to make out that your name is the only way you can spell it, because Shaun must be one of the most misspelled names in the entire universe. Because something like
the Irish equivalent of it as well, SEA with an accent, an N as well. So we have that in.
And then there's the black version, SHAWN.
That would still make sense.
With a few iterations of it. John, going back to what we said in the last review regarding funding, that was something that we touched on, and something that I deliberately checked. There was no Department of Defense, no DoD money or support was given to this movie. Yes, and they were not happy. They were not happy regarding the whole teenage hacking theme of this movie.
Probably because they were getting hacked left, right, and centre.
Yeah, and what it could inspire after that movie as well.
Yeah.
So there was no DoD money, go ahead.
So did they make up all the NORAD stuff? Because
the NORAD stuff.
that looked really realistic. In fact, you know what? It looked exactly like the same set that they used for Stargate. You know, the series.
Yeah, they created that in a sound studio. So we'll get into a little bit of trivia. They spent $1 million to create that particular war room.
In 1983.
In 1983, it cost for the entirety of the production cost for that 1983 production of WarGames was $12 million. If you price that up and include inflation today, it's roughly $32 million by today's standards. It would cost to make that movie. The movie. In 1983, it took worldwide. The gross was $79 million.
Well, that's a great return.
Yeah, and if you convert that into today's equivalent in US dollars, you adjust for inflation, it's roughly $250 million. So back in 1983, that was a blockbuster.
Yeah, it was. And that's pretty good. You can't complain at that. And it was a good movie. It was well received at the time, certainly. It didn't do any of them any harms because they all went on to multiple roles in many, many different successful movies, didn't they?
Mm-hmm.
There was
Matthew Broderick, the main guy. He was in Godzilla, 1988.
1998.
Sorry, 90.
Yes, correct.
I got jumbled up.
98.
Yeah. 98. Sorry.
Yeah.
Yeah. That was a very good film in general. Like, and he moved on to do other things as well.
Yeah, well, he did a lot.
Yeah.
He did a lot of work. Ferris Bueller's Day Off being one of them, certainly. Probably
so I think it's WarGames and Ferris Bueller is what Matthew Broderick is most remembered for. Yeah. I think he's. Yeah.
Has he done any modern stuff?
I don't know. He probably has.
I think he's been on stage quite a bit. I think he's been on Broadway a bit. Actually, he was involved in a Broadway production of The Producers.
Yeah, he was.
John might be able to fact check me on that quickly.
No, I think he was.
Yeah, he's done very well for himself. But he was. I think he was a type like Michael J. Fox. He was a type of 1980s fresh-faced golden boy, wasn't he?
He was in The Producers in 2005. The movie. He's done a stack of stuff. He was in Rick and Morty. He was a talking cat.
Wait, that was him? Oh my god!
You got Shaun. You brought Shaun right into it now with Rick and Morty.
Oh my god, that was him. Oh my god.
Yeah,
it was the same episode. It was the same episode as the dragon.
Yeah.
Oh boy.
He's been prolific. He's got stuff up till 2023. So he's been working. He's not.
He's kept working.
He was. Yeah. He was in BoJack Horseman. He was Joseph Sugarman.
I've never seen BoJack Horseman.
And that was another Adult Swim form of entertainment. I think BoJack was really good back in the day.
Manchester by the Sea. Modern Family. He was Dave. One episode. 30 Rock. Yeah, Tower Heist. The Lion King. He did Simba's voice on the DVD.
Okay, I thought the cat sounded like a bit like Simba. I just didn't know.
And The Producers, as you said, and he was in The Stepford Wives, The Lion King 3. He was the voice of Simba. So he's done quite a lot of stuff. Inspector Gadget. Oh yeah, I remember Inspector Gadget. That bombed.
Yes.
Yeah, didn't it? That wasn't great.
Oh,
there was that moment in WarGames. Maybe I missed it, John, but you remember where he started, where Broderick's character Lightman started to get paranoid that the feds were after him.
Yeah.
They couldn't initially get a trace on him, and then Joshua attempted to call him back.
That's right. Yeah.
A couple of times, but there was a particular time where he picked up the phone and he got really paranoid and he put it back down or he disconnected it. Then he's out and about, and then all of a sudden, the feds are on him, and I'm like, okay. How did that actually happen? Did they actually get a trace because
They
it
wouldn't need a
doesn't
trace,
look
would
like.
they? If well, see, it wasn't quite well explained in the movie, but what they should
But
have,
this is the thing. Yeah.
yeah, what they should have said was that since the Whopper, I mean, they never acknowledged that the Whopper called him, but if they'd looked at their own phone records, they would have seen where the outgoing calls went. Because it
That's the thing.
must have
Military, you
used
fail us.
yeah. So they didn't.
'Cause the
It's
way-
not the military that failed us. It's the fact the movie didn't quite think it through and didn't explain it right. Because if they couldn't trace him, how did they manage to know where he was? But I think
Yeah, that's a fair point.
Combination
that is
of
the
all
thing,
that.
because all of a sudden it was like he was out and about. He was near this like diner. I think there was that particular scene because
Yeah.
they just thought, we didn't really get a trace.
Yeah, it was
but we
like
think-
7-Eleven or something.
It's 7-Eleven. We thought that they said that we think he's in this particular area, and then they had identified him. They knew exactly who it was. So you're right, John. That was kind of not explained kind of so well. That's probably why I'd be a little bit. There were one or two scenes that weren't.
You've got to excuse that. You have to suspend disbelief for quite a few things, but you know, it's unlikely you're going to find, NORAD's phone number through Ward Island in Sunnyvale, California. But it was all good, clean, and you know what really got me? It was good, clean, wholesome family fun. It wasn't anything untoward. Okay, there was a couple of dropped swear words or whatever, but really, it was a family movie. There was nothing that you couldn't let a 3-year-old watch there. To be fair, because everything.
The war room was great.
Everything
and
would have gone
graphics
over
were
their
great
head.
as well.
Yeah, yeah, and they put some effort into their war room, didn't they? Compared to Doctor Strangelove's.
Yeah. 20 years later, it's like, thank you, we've got a proper war room.
Yeah, it was pretty well done.
You mentioned that during our Doctor Strangelove review. I think you alluded to that, and possibly like WarGames, perhaps. But I can only imagine what a modern NORAD war room would look like today. I'd say it would be something else. What do you guys think?
Well, I think it probably would be.
Yeah.
I mean, I think that's a pretty good. It's a pretty good representation for a movie. I think it did really well. I mean, this movie got nominated for 4 Oscars. It didn't win any Oscars, but
I didn't know that. Wow.
It got nominated for 4, and I think Ali Sheedy won something, not an Oscar, another prize for best young female actress or something, and it won a BAFTA for best music, or no, not best music, best soundtrack.
Soundtrack was good.
Yeah, it was.
Yeah, it was really good. What did you guys think about this kind of early introduction of AI, of artificial intelligence? Because the Whopper, it's a type of like IBM styled like mainframe. It certainly reminded me to a degree, not as subtle as HAL 9000 from 2001. Another Kubrick classic. Like, what did you guys think about the whole artificial intelligence, early AI theme that was explored during it with the Whopper?
Well,
go on.
Well, seeing the early AI, in this sort of older film, it was kind of like an eye opener. Like, oh my god, how stupid are we? Because I feel like that it was going to be the whole thing was going to be a big issue from the beginning, because like, you're going to put all your like military plans on this thing, you're going to have it take control, whereas replacing the human element, that's not going to end well, and it nearly caused World War III, all because the thing was like looking for the launch codes, and I'm like, oh my god, what the.
Well, yeah, but I mean, the thing is, right? So basically, early on in the movie, Matthew Broderick says to Ali Sheedy that you can make it say anything you like because it'll just say what it's programmed to say. Like, remember when he asked it, "How are you today?" and it replied, and she goes, "How can it say that?" And he's going, "Well, it's just a program." And it's the same today. Even AI today, it's just a program. It's just a question of weighting variables and
prompts and
it's weighting variables. It's picking out patterns in speech and really statistically managing what's going to come next, and it does a really good job because computers can do maths really, really quickly, and that's all it's doing. They're just number crunching. There's no intelligence in them, and this is the same. I think we've always had a fear that computers are smarter than us because they can do maths really quickly, or they can crunch numbers really quickly, and they're not smart at all. They're not intelligent at all. That's the problem. So we anthropomorphize them, and they're not that smart, and then what we do is we give them the capability and the credibility to make decisions that they shouldn't be making because they don't have that human element. And I think that's where,
well said.
Even in 1983, they saw this coming. And in fact, before that, if you go back to the 70s, and before we started this, I watched a movie called Colossus 2, The Forbin Project. And my God, if you think some of the other movies are slow-paced, The Forbin Project is incredibly slow-paced. Nothing happens in the entire movie, really. The most exciting thing is when he pours a martini and has surreptitious sex with his assistant because the computer's watching them all the time,
But you enjoyed it, John. You enjoyed it.
No, it's a really good movie. It's exactly the same as this, though. It's two mega machines are built to handle all the decisions around nuclear war. The US build one, and the Soviets build one, and they're going to take all the decisions away and make sure that the human race doesn't kill itself. And then suddenly, one computer talks to the other computer. They can't break the line, or the thing starts firing nuclear missiles at the humans, not at themselves, at the humans. So they had to reconnect them. So now the Soviet and the US computer are talking to each other all the time. And ultimately, the film ends with the human race surviving because they have to do exactly what the AI tells them to, or they're wiped out. And this has been a recurring theme ever since we designed computers and built them. And we're still doing it. People still...
Terminator.
They're still doomsaying about AI and how it's going to change things, and it won't. It won't change things.
Hype.
Yeah,
it's hype. It's hype.
It's hyperbole, isn't it? And it's like today I saw a post on Twitter about how robots are taking over the job, and there's this thing, a cherry picker up at a power line, and there's this machine on the power line working away, and then you see this. Then you see this wee arm coming out. There's a guy sitting in the bucket and he's got a rod, and you see his arm coming out, grabbing a cable and putting it up so the machine can stitch it together. And people are going, computers are taking over our jobs. And I'm like, robot? That's not a robot. Orange clad arm with a glove on it.
Go ahead, John.
So sorry. I do kind of get that now. It's like to be honest, like for me, like because I'm an artist, and like one of the things I really did hate right now is AI art. Where they just copying out of people's work and just like making things. And to be honest, it's not really the machine that's at fault here. It's the lazy gits, who are like who are just like putting down words on a prompt and is like calling themselves an artist when they're not. They're just like a bunch of has-beens and idiots. And God, hope that generation dies out.
Look, it was interesting with what you said there, John. Very, very briefly, is that yes, like this type of technology is very good at, say, completing mathematics very quickly, and a lot of people assume that if you go back to human beings, if they've got a very good processing speed in terms of they're more left-brained, so they're better with numbers. Oh gosh, that person's very good at mathematics or arithmetic. They must be really, really smart. That a lot of people what they get mixed up with is that there is a difference between intelligence and intellect. Just because something is good, or a human being is a bit more left-brained and they can process, make quick calculations, that is not the definition of intelligence. It's a little bit more broader than that. I was slightly triggered in a good way by what you said, because we can apply that also to humans, but I don't want to get off track too much.
No.
I was gonna say off of what you all just said is it's like that age-old question, or not really question, it's like that statement where you judge something's intelligence by how well it can climb a tree. And just saying that is kind of ridiculous, because like there are things that are unable to climb a tree, but that should not like discredit their possible intelligence. Like a dolphin can't climb a tree, but yet dolphins are pretty intelligent.
Yeah.
So same goes for computers in a way. Like they're fast and they can make quick calculations, but they're not technically always smarter than people. There's some people who are.
All they're doing is comparing things against another. Now, the thing is, look at what we're doing just now, right? So we're talking and discussing a movie and the themes in it and stuff like that.
Mm-hmm.
Do you think AI could do that? Not just now. Could it do in the future? Maybe. Will it do it as well as humans can? And the thing that gets me is you're seeing loads and loads of AI channels on YouTube. You're getting avatars that are lip synced and the AI's writing the content and then it's speaking it, and people are copying other people's content, moving it around, and then putting these AI channels out and getting hundreds of views. Yeah. Now, what I'm hoping, right, is that people will get fed up with that and come back to reality and think, I don't want to watch this crap. I want to watch a real human person speaking to me. And with that in mind, if you want to continue to hear real human people speaking to us, maybe you should think about dropping us some support on Ko-fi.com/Sergeant Grumpy. Could AI do that? Could it slide that in like that?
Should see that one coming.
So, guys, did you know that this film inspired the former U.S. President Ronald Reagan? WarGames led to the creation of the first U.S. cybersecurity policy ever.
Yeah, right. Okay, I didn't know that. That's good to know.
That is a cool one. And the term firewall was already out there. It was already in use. But they used that particular term, firewall, in WarGames. So in a way, it said that WarGames unofficially coined that particular term. And you mentioned also about freaking as well. We kind of had this earlier form of hacking or freaking. And Shaun made a really good point. I absolutely loved MacGyver in the mid-'80s to late 80s. That was, again, like with Knight Rider and the A-Team. I grew up on MacGyver, and MacGyver was a freaker, and it was freaking awesome.
Yeah.
To be honest, the only reason I actually know about MacGyver is because of The Simpsons.
What? Really?
Yes.
Oh dear.
Yeah, you'd never have seen MacGyver. Yeah, in fact, I don't think I've ever actually watched MacGyver. So
really?
When did MacGyver start?
I think it was kind of after 85 or 86. I think it was towards late 80s.
See, that's the problem. I was too busy.
Yeah.
I was in the police then, and yeah. I didn't have time. I didn't watch a lot of TV, believe it or not, in those days, because I was too busy doing stuff.
Too busy protecting us, mate. Too busy protecting society.
Well, doing that and
kicking ass and taking
buying
eggs.
and doing up houses and things and all that kind of stuff.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, the Whopper, the WOPR, the Whopper was inspired by a then existing an actual NORAD supercomputer or a mainframe. So something like that did actually exist at the time. I thought that was a cool piece of trivia, and I could imagine that something like that did exist. I always assume that even with the technology of that time, it's going to be not light years ahead, but it's going to be decades ahead of what we kind of expect it is now. So I could only imagine what sort of supercomputers or mainframes that they're using today with the military and or AI. I'd say it's very far advanced stuff that we are not privy knowing about.
Definitely not privy, because I definitely assume that the governments have much more advanced computers and stuff like that than compared to the main populace. Because who else would have them?
Yeah, but I mean, they've got them, but I don't know if they're that much more advanced. I mean, I'll be honest. In 2019, the PNC was still a green screen terminal. Was still a green screen terminal application.
Did you get up to any kind of not so much freaking, John? Like you were very au fait with the technology. You could recognize a lot of it back then. So you had a bit of a setup. Did you do any kind of dabbling or kind of early forms of hacking like Lightman did in WarGames? Did you try?
I used to hack PS1 games, copy the discs, and sell them to the guys in the office. So almost every cop in Meeklewood Road, the Traffic South, had their PS1s PS1 games supplied by me.
By Sergeant Grumpy. It's true. Hit that button, John. Hit that button. It's true.
That's true.
I used to build PCs and sell them to folk.
Wow.
As a side hustle. But yeah. I mean, we got all sorts of things. Yeah.
Also, there's probably going to be a lot more than that now, especially with the Nintendo Switch 2 coming out and it's being a ridiculously high price.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I was watching a guy on what was it? YouTube the other night called Lewis Rosman.
I know him. Yeah.
He used to fix Apple computers because he was always a strong proponent of the right to repair. Yes, and he would go into the boards and change components when Apple wouldn't do that because, well, no big corporation does that. They just throw the board away and put a new board in. Mm-hmm. But he would go in and fix them because Apples are so expensive. And he was talking the other day about Netflix and why piracy is the way forward. Because if you think about it, if you pay for a Netflix subscription now, the lowest Netflix subscription now is more than double, I think, what the highest one was 10 years ago.
Yes, and just for the purpose of the YouTube censors or algorithms, we are not advocating that people share their passwords for these platforms. Not advocating it at all.
Netflix used to be one of their selling points. Share your password with your friend, to get their stuff out there. But now if your password is used too often on a PC that doesn't have the same IP address as the main account, they shut that other account off.
Yeah.
So it's like
you can mask your IP. Yeah.
Well, yeah, it's not just mask your IP. You've got to go and clone it. You've got to clone the IP. Yeah. So, that's like, if I wanted to use Sean's Netflix account in here, I'd have to clone his router's IP address and put it on. And it's a trivial matter to do that. I mean, it is fairly trivial, but it's a pain in the butt, but most people won't. Most people won't go that far.
So a bit more trivia. Real tech companies were consulted pre-production. Real tech companies were consulted, so they were very much kind of on point with a lot of the material that they had. So it was quite on point. And another one that I thought was very interesting. Before his death, John Lennon was reportedly interested in acting and had been considered for the role of Dr. Stephen Falcon. We could have had John Lennon as Stephen Falcon in WarGames. Wow. Imagine that. Yeah.
Yeah, that would have been cool. I like your trivia. I like your trivia section. That's pretty damn cool.
Yeah, a little bit of. I'd like to look for a couple of.
Vaughn says it picks your MAC address. Yeah, but you can clone your MAC address, Vaughn. I mean, come on, you're an IT guy. You know that's fairly trivial as well.
And your phone's IMEI as well. But yeah, we're not advocating that, YouTube. We're not advocating that. That's for other creators and other streams.
We're just saying what can occur,
Yeah. But guys, you know what? I really like WarGames. It's a timeless classic, and people, if you haven't seen it, go and watch it. You're missing out, folks.
Yeah, you know what? I was after I'd picked it as the movie and it got picked, I thought, did I really want to watch WarGames again? I kept putting it off. I didn't actually watch it till yesterday, and then I thought, why did I not watch this? It's a treat. It really is. I mean, it even got an award for cinematography as well, because it was pretty well done, considering that was made without any help from the US military. So they obviously, either mocked up NORAD's entrance or took surreptitious video of it.
I think WarGames is one of those films that is best left, like, that they don't try to like remake it, like into a similar vein with Back to the Future. It's just leave it alone. Just leave WarGames the way it is back in 1983. Do not try and have like a modern incarnation or remake of it in 2025 or 2030 or something like that. It'd be interesting, but just leave it alone, Hollywood.
It's a bit like Total Recall. I didn't need a remake.
No.
It really didn't.
Oh, the remake was terrible. Absolutely terrible.
It was awful.
I think that Ridley Scott needs to get on that and eviscerate it.
yeah, I maybe should. I mean, some remakes work. The Thing was a brilliant remake. Because the original, what was the original called? It Came from Outer Space or something. I can't remember what it was called, but it was a remake of a black and white movie, and it worked really well. But again, The Thing didn't need a prequel. I really don't think it added anything to it.
Yeah, I get the whole idea that some remakes work, some don't. Because some are just like some are just like poorly made. It's just like they're trying to like make money off nostalgia, but sometimes they just never work.
Or do you not think maybe they can't really think of anything new, and they've got to produce a certain amount of movies anyway to keep your interest up and to keep people going to the movies. So do you think they maybe just think, well, we'll remake this and use it as a filler while we think of something else, Do you think maybe they do that? I don't know. Maybe they do. Maybe they don't.
Like I was just about to say, like some remakes do work, because like I personally enjoyed like the Jungle Book remake. I actually really did enjoy that one, actually more than the original. Don't crucify me for this, all right? Okay? I'm just saying I do prefer that one over the original. But for other films, like I did not go see Mulan, the actual remake, because despite it being a remake, they cut like one of the most important characters from the flipping film. Like, and there's no way I was going to go see it without Mushu. And apparently, it just did not do well. Okay, because it was apparently trash.
I don't know. I have no knowledge. I can't comment.
Yeah. You should watch some Disney films, the more classic ones, because they're generally good.
That's what Ben would say. I'm not going to comment on that, John. I'm not going to comment. Hey Ben, what's up?
What about you, David? What about you, David? You a proprietor in Disney films?
I dig Disney. I'm kind of quite fussy about my productions. I think Disney have got the next Tron movie in the making. That's coming out in October, I believe. Tron Ares, yeah. That's one for the IMAX, so I'll probably go to IMAX and see that.
All right. I seen the remade one, and I think I remember watching the original a while ago. Just can't remember much about it.
Sorry.
You
wouldn't have been old enough to go and see 2001 when it came out.
No. I remember.
David, you wouldn't have been old enough to go and see 2001.
The original Tron.
The original 2001.
Oh, yeah, of course. Well, the 2001, that was 1968 or 1969, wasn't it, I think?
I mean, I wasn't old enough to go and see it. But people used to go to it with sunglasses for the effect.
Oh, gosh, yeah. And now, 2001 was a movie that had some Department of Defense funding, as far as I know. Don't quote me on that. I think Kubrick got some cash for 2001.
Yeah, interesting. It was a good movie. I loved the books more. I was a big science fiction reader, and some of the science fiction books I've read would make fantastic movies, but the costs would be prohibitive these days. They really would.
Yeah,
that's the problem. Because they want to make a profit, and the problem with and it's what people are saying in the chat, that There's nothing new original. There's plenty of new ideas out there. There's plenty of original material out there. The problem is what happens is it won't get made into movies because the studios are very risk averse, and they won't take something unless they think it's either going to be a good hit or it's going to lead to a trilogy or maybe more movies that's going to make them a lot of money. And that's things like Guardians of the Galaxy was a big
It was a risk.
It was a big risk for them, yeah.
Yeah, because they weren't known. Yeah.
Yeah, but then they go and then they just keep pumping out more shite after shite, And the Guardians of the Galaxy the original was brilliant. The second one was fantastic. The third one starting to go downhill, and then they get a Christmas special, and I'm not saying it's bad stuff, but what they're doing is they milk the last cent out of everything.
Cash cow, mate. Cash cow.
I get how
Vaughn's trying to wind me up. He's trying to wind me up. He's trying to wind me up about Dune because I have a big thing for David Lynch's Dune, and David Lynch hates the movie, right? But the 1984 version of Dune, I think, is the truest to the book.
Yeah.
And that's where I grew up reading the book. See, this is where people don't get it anymore because nobody reads the book first. They go and see Harry Potter and then read the books, And,
or like Tolkien's Lord of the Rings.
Lord of the Rings are classic. I mean, you've got to put time into Lord of the Rings. Lord of the Rings is what, 1,200, 1,500 pages or something, but you've read the trilogy. It's not a Hobbit. It's not a Hobbit. I mean, and yet they make Lord of the Rings and then they make the Hobbit and make it as long as Lord of the Rings. The Hobbit's this size.
I actually did enjoy the Hobbit, the Hobbit films. I did enjoy them, So.
But the books are just fantastic because when you read a book, there is no barrier to special effects. There's no barrier to the scenery. There's no barrier to what's happening. There's no barrier to the action. It's all generated by your head after you read the pages. And that to me is an experience that people are just not getting these days. Go and read more.
I tried reading, but didn't. I tried reading one book a couple of years ago. It didn't really work out so well. Like I remember, I was trying to read Harry Potter and the Goblet of Fire, and I could not remember a single thing from that when I watched the film. Like between when I first read it and when I watched the actual film was a couple of years, but I did not remember a single thing from the book. And
this is where. It's a thing. Reading as a habit, and it's something you need to practice. And if you don't do it often, then you get out of the way of doing it. And this is it triggers your imagination. It triggers critical thinking. It lets you explore different concepts,
vocabulary building, other expressions.
Everything. You can go back and you can reread. If you don't understand something, you can instantly reread it. Or you can go and look at the part that you don't understand and look it up. Because you've now got the internet on your fingertips, so you can look up anything,
Yeah,
I agree.
This is what just to work out for me because, I remember it wasn't the only thing I ever read. Like I read other things. I read stuff like Diary of a Wimpy Kid, and I also read a bunch of a little short stories on online. Some of those stories were very interesting, and I had some sparks of imagination there. It's just some things just don't work out for some people, and it's a bit of a hat on hat kind of thing.
Yeah, I mean, you don't want to read because you'd rather sit back and watch something. I'm not slagging you. I'm not slagging you.
I didn't say I want. I'm just saying, it works out for some people better than others.
Yeah, okay.
Some people because it's hard for some people to read.
I think the problem is that in this day and age, nobody's forced to read. And I remember I was talking, was it Ben or somebody? I was talking to somebody anyway who's obviously a millennial, and their reading criteria at school was abysmal for English compared to what we were reading. I mean, we were reading Solzhenitsyn and Shakespeare, and these guys are reading nothing. They're reading nothing.
For
they're maybe reading Harry Potter,
For the equivalent of A levels, like in the UK, we have a thing in Ireland, which is the national examinations. We have the junior certificate and then the leaving certificate. So that'd be the equivalent of like UK's A levels.
Yeah.
And it was mandatory for English, where we had to memorize up to about 48 or 50 different poems by different poets. The classics, we had Wilfred Owen, we had John Keats, La Belle Dame Saint Merci, and all of this stuff. We had
Hemingway,
to lock it up there. Yeah.
Kerouac, I mean, people don't read anymore. It was Vaughan that I was talking to, and he's right. It was him. And, that, how can you expand people's minds and horizons if you don't allow them to, or you don't give them access to the classics?
Yeah. I love listening. That's my thing nowadays. I think podcasts are great for that. I was an avid reader at a young age, and I slowly but surely grew out of it. My attention span has been affected, but I love to listen to things. That's how I absorb a lot of information. That's kind of like my nouveau reading these days, listening.
That's right. That's what Vaughan was saying. Shakespeare was considered racist white colonial, right? and because there was a majority of, well, let's just call it what it is. It was because there was a majority of black people in his class. They ended up reading Afro-Caribbean poetry that Vaughan just couldn't understand. I mean, that's incredible. That's his England. That's just incredible, isn't it? Right, anyway, we're going to go on and
great conversation.
Yeah.
Great. Yeah, fantastic.
Let's get the poll out there before we carry on.
Yeah,
so your movies.
Okay.
Shaun.
All right. It's been trying hard to try to decide, because I for the past few times I tried to do Godzilla in 1998, but it didn't really pan out well. So I'm going to try something new. Okay.
Go on.
And
what is it?
I'm going to try Iron Man 2008.
Okay.
Iron Man.
That's the first Downey one, is it? First Robert Downey one. Right.
Yes.
Okay.
The role that Robert Downey Jr. was born to play, Tony Stark. Yeah.
He's just one of those actors who has like a great connection with the character. He's like, that is him. It's like Hugh Jackman is Wolverine, or Iñaki Godoy is Monkey D. Luffy, and all that stuff, and etc.
Sylvester Stallone is Judge Dredd, not Carol Urban. Sorry to say.
Who's Judge Dredd?
Judge Dredd.
Yeah, never heard of him.
You see this is where your upbringing, and I have to be semi guilty of that, but this is where your upbringing loses out, because you didn't get access to the amount of the amount of comics that I had access to growing up. And 2000 AD was the comic of the time, Judge Dredd, it was Dan Dare. I mean, it was just brilliant science fiction comic.
Well, I'm certainly making up for lost time with my manga collection, but
Yeah, but manga's not the same. Manga's a different culture, and that to me is the problem.
What's wrong with that?
Well, but it's a completely different culture from what you're brought up in. That's the problem. I mean, it's fine to experience different cultures, but
a bunch of Americans love Harry Potter, and that's British.
It's English. When I say it's English, I mean it's English speaking. Harry Potter's universal. Manga's not.
And may I add that J.K. Rowling borrowed heavily from such classics like Lewis Carroll's Alice in Wonderland, where we have the character of the Griffin.
Yeah.
And that appears in Harry Potter as the Gryffindor or something like that. And I'm like, cheeky. I see what you did there, J.K. Very nice.
Right. What's your movie, David?
I'm going to stick with science fiction and with AI and with humans and androids. I'm going to pick one of my most favorite sci-fi movies of all time. I'm picking Blade Runner.
Oh, Blade Runner, the original.
Blade Runner 1982, baby. Oh, yeah.
All right.
Sean Young.
Oh, I fall in love with Sean Young every time I watch that movie again and again and again.
I first fell in love with Sean Young in that movie, and then sealed the deal in 1984 with June.
She was a goddess of the 80s.
Wasn't she?
Yeah. And Sergeant Grumpy. What about you, sir? You are the law. I am the law.
Right, hold on. Wait, I need to create a poll. Right.
Sean, let's keep talking. We got to fill in that dead air.
Yeah.
On the dead air, yeah.
Yeah, like I think when the main reason he's called Sergeant Grumpy is because his face is always red, like the angry guy from the angry guy from Inside Out.
What was your movie again, Sean?
Iron Man.
Yes.
So, Sean, tell me about where did you get interested in manga? What is it that you like the most about manga?
Well, I think it all started with sort of my upbringing, because I grew up on like animes like Digimon, Pokemon, and other lesser known ones like Beyblade, Metabots, and over time, I started I watched more and more like on stuff like Cartoon Network, and but it wasn't until like later on where it was until later on when I was like looking up like different like artists and on DeviantArt when I first started trying to do some drawings, and I seen some cool artwork of different characters from animes.
DeviantArt, yeah.
Yeah, and I decided to give it a try. Some of these animes, and I actually thoroughly enjoyed them. And I started watching animes that aren't like more kid friendly, like Pokemon or Digimon. Even though if you watch the uncensored version of some of these animes, you're like, why didn't we get this in English? Oh, that's why.
Sean, have you ever been to Japan? Would you like to go to Japan? Because my God, you would love it over there. Talking to people about.
I've never been to Japan, but it's definitely one of my ideal places to go one day.
It's on your list.
Yeah. And I even want to make my own sort of like my own sort of stories and my own sort of show and comics and characters based on some some anime art style, because there's plenty of good shows out there that actually have some American shows that have some good anime inspiration. Like, for example, this one's a classic, Avatar: The Last Airbender. That is a brilliant and phenomenal show. I actually highly recommend you watch it. It is a really great show. It had some like animation inspired in the art style. It was just one of those classics from back in the day, and the whole the franchise is still sort of going in some ways, because there was also a continuation series. There's the comics, and it is generally really good. And there's other shows that have earlier shows that have like a sort of anime art style, like Ben 10 had a slight animation art style to it, and that was a great classic show to watch growing up. Like I always wanted a watch that would let me turn into like 10 different alien species. It was just fun. Honestly, I think some of the best animes, and I was even looking at some when we were talking about best offers, and if you actually look up the top 10 best offers, like one of them,
best is a subjective term.
Yeah,
popular,
best-selling
Right,
fiction
okay.
authors. Like obviously, like in the very top, you get like William Shakespeare, Agatha Christie, Barbara Cartland. Don't know most of these people. There's J.K. Rowling at number 7. And then just below her is Ichiro Oda, who is one of the best fiction creators of all time. Okay, because he is the one who's made the show or the manga, which eventually became the show One Piece, and it is brilliant. Okay. I've been trying to get this one to watch the live action, because the live action one actually solves much of the problems with the original anime was the pacing.
The problem with One Piece is the first episode that I watched was freaking awful.
How's it? What
it
was
just
bad about
really
it?
turned me off. You know that. You were there when I watched it. It was just awful.
How was it awful? Name something.
That guy is super annoying with his gun and face. He's a bit like the guy out of Stranger Things, but less likable.
He's lovable. Everyone loves him.
Well, that's just me.
Not
then.
Sergeant Grumpy.
Not
Yes,
Sergeant
he's
Grumpy.
a-
Sergeant Grumpy does not approve of this show.
Honestly, like another person, like I know, okay, who had a bit of a like, who didn't like it at first, but then she continued watching it, and she actually liked it, and that is like something that I think you should actually think more about. Sometimes like these things, like it takes a bit of time, but also they actually do have a really good good story to progress through, and the characters and all that stuff, and you should really give these things a shot.
Yeah, you say these things, right? But the problem is, right? The problem is, I have an incredibly contrary nature. And if someone recommends something for me to go and watch, unless I really like them or trust them, I usually don't watch it.
All right, and that basically solves the many mysteries.
So what Sergeant Grumpy is kind of saying, Shaun, is I'm a bit of a freaking arsehole. Like,
Yeah,
really,
yeah.
like, you know?
I am.
I jest.
Yeah, I would definitely say out of the two of you, you're definitely the more open-minded one, David.
I'm channeling
Vaughn-
Ed tonight.
Vaughn says, Shaun, you have to ease people into manga. Start them off with some anime like Studio Ghibli or something.
Oh, Studio Ghibli has some really good stuff on that one. Like, well, it's not like I'm gonna recommend him for the actual anime One Piece, because that one has over 1,000 episodes. Jesus, there's no way he would watch that. Like, and that's generally
Yeah,
saying
but don't ease me into One Piece. Try something that's better or shorter and just as good.
There's some good Studio Ghibli movies. Spirited Away is a very good one.
Classic, yeah.
Yeah. Oh, this one's a really good one. Howl's Moving Castle. That's actually one of my favorites.
I've seen some
I've
of
heard of that.
Yeah,
I think it's not great. It's a bit like, it reminded me a bit. Was that movie based on it? The one with the big cities that moved across the
possibly.
world?
I think so.
See, the problem is I just don't like this whole cartoon thing generally. I find it hard to engage with these days. It's fine maybe when you're young, but I've grown away from cartoons and I don't really like them that much. And I used to love
your inner child.
Yeah,
John,
well, I know.
child.
I think it died because I used to love cartoons, but I mean, it took me a long time to watch Rick and Morty.
Yeah, the old man just strangled the little boy in the corner.
But it's like,
there's a saying that this.
I mean, Ben's been trying to get me to watch South Park, and South Park's quite interesting in that it is quite political and it can be funny, but
very acquired.
It's too fucking juvenile. It really is. It's just so juvenile.
It does have.
Turns me off.
I think when it does like really like out there jokes, I'm like, oh my god, this is so bad. But it's also kind of funny how they're like, how are they allowed to do this? Like when they do like really intense jokes like that. What I was gonna say is, like, there's a saying, you don't grow old. Okay, so you don't stop playing when you grow old. You grow old because you stop playing.
Yeah, but I don't stop playing. I'm still playing. The cartoons are not my thing anymore.
I feel so sorry for you.
No, that's fine, but come back to me don't come back to me, but think about it in 40 years' time.
Oh, believe me, I'm already that far out depressed.
Because I just find them, they just don't do it for me anymore. They really don't.
It's kind of like me with computer games. I grew out of it. I used to be an avid gamer as well. Now I'm trying to get into Fortnite. Like it's a bit of a struggle. The struggle is real, but I've got to get into Fortnite.
Well, you should come and join us because we're rubbish. So come and play with us. It's a laugh. I mean, when I started playing Fortnite, I was absolutely rubbish. I could do nothing, and I'm still not much better, but I can actually shoot people now.
Trailing behind the man of the people, eh? The man of the people. The Chad
okay.
Hawk.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay.
Are the polls in, Sergeant
Yeah,
Grumpy?
the polls in. The polls in. Blade Runner has 83% to Iron Man's 17.
Don't you worry, Shaun. You're going to enjoy Blade Runner, my friend.
Yeah, I know. Yeah, I think I heard some good things about it. So hopefully it'll be as good as they say.
I think you're going to appreciate it.
Blade Runner's just one of those movies that you came out the movies, you came out the cinema after watching it, and it was like, what have I just seen,
It has one of the most iconic monologues of movie history in it.
Roy.
Yeah. Absolutely. Roy Batty, yeah.
The Tears of Orion.
Yeah. Rutger Hauer.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, we never really gave our final thoughts on the actual movie we're talking about.
Yeah, go on then. What would you rate it?
Go for Shaun, yeah.
Oh yeah. I would say it's definitely one of those great classics from the 80s. I enjoyed it. It was like one of those films I could just watch at least once and really enjoy it. So I had a good time. So I would say a 7.5.
That's cool. Yeah. David?
I really enjoyed it. It's a timeless classic. Straight in with the rating, I would give it... I'd be very generous. I'm going to give it a 9 out of 10.
Oh, wow. That is
9 out of 10. It's not perfect, but
yeah,
for what it does, it's really great. It's very strong.
Yeah.
Everybody loves WarGames.
Yeah, they do. I wasn't thinking of giving it as much as that. I was thinking more of an 8. But I mean, that's
feeling generous tonight, mate.
Yeah. But that's still a good score. IMDb gave it a 7.7 out of 10, so that's pretty good.
Well, that's IMDb.
Yeah, but that's pretty good. That's quite high.
Yeah, but I'm some things like IMDb aren't fully trusted. Like IGN, IGN is flipping crazy as well.
IMDb's all right, I suppose. I mean, Rotten Tomatoes is. I mean, that's been accused of rigging stuff as well. So you can only go with what if you're going to pick one thing to look at, then you got to stick with it. You know what I mean? You can't go switching between IMDb and Rotten Tomatoes, because then you don't get a comparison. Whereas if you just stick with IMDb, you've got a comparison. And every other movie we've done so far, I've referred to IMDb. So, yeah, there you go. That was pretty good.
Yeah.
I enjoyed it. I've enjoyed my evening immensely. That was a great conversation. Thank you, chaps.
And it's been great for me.
Yeah, it was a fun one.
And it's been great for you.
As Tony the Tiger would say, it's great. So yeah. That went well.
Yeah, I thought it was good.